I'm Heather Briggs of My So Quilty Life. Welcome back. So today I have another skill builder video for you. I have to say that slow because it's such a tongue twister saying skill builder video. But I have another one for you today that I think is probably much needed. So we're talking all about flying geese in this skill builder video. Let's go ahead and get started. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the most simple, most basic way to make a flying geese. There are so many different ways that you can make flying geese, but I'm really simple. I don't like to have a lot of tools to do things. I want to have one tool or two tools that can do everything that I need, and I really like basic traditional techniques as much as possible. So in this video, I'm not going to show you how to make 4 at a time or 2 at a time, or use some fancy ruler out there, or use paper, which are all great things and great techniques that you can use. So definitely still try those out. But in this video, I want to keep it super basic, super simple, so that anybody can make a flying geese. Also, if you're struggling with flying geese, I'm going to have a couple of tips for you when making your flying geese. So let's go ahead and head to my top camera, and I want to walk you through how I make a flying geese the simple way. Okay, yay for the top camera. My last couple videos for Skill Builder did not have a top camera. It had some weird angled camera, and that is because I just moved and I hadn't had a moment to really get all of my camera equipment mounted, but now I do. Okay, so we're here to talk about flying geese. Let's do this. So I mostly use flying geese when I am making a star block, specifically a sawtooth star, which I'm going to show you right here. So as you can see, these are what we call flying geese. Now, they're not always in a star. They can be used to create other really awesome blocks or used in borders, but I normally use mine in star blocks. So right here, this unit is called your flying geese unit, and it can be sewn into what this is called a sawtooth star. Now, you want to make sure that your flying geese unit is accurate, because you want to make sure that that point right there always comes to a point, and you want to make sure that your points up here always come to a point. For a very long time, I disliked flying geese. I really disliked half square triangles. And my reasoning is because I had to have points, and I always was cutting off my points. I now know what I was doing wrong, but it also starts with your units. You want to make sure that your units are made properly so that when you put your whole star together, or any block that you're using flying geese with, that it actually works out and your points don't get cut off. Okay, so I wanted to show you what flying geese were just in case you had no idea. So now I'm going to talk you through one. I'm going to be making the exact flying geese I made in that star. So here I have a 2 by 3.5 inch rectangle. I got 2 of them just in case I need to make 2. My first step is always going to be draw a diagonal line from corner to corner, and I've done that. I don't know if you can see the line there. Now, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're drawing from corner to corner. You're not drawing a little bit in or a little bit out. You want to make sure that you're truly drawing from corner to corner. That is what we're going to use as our stitch line when we get over to our machine. So what we're going to do first is draw all of our, I'm going to put this to the side, diagonal lines. Okay, these are my 2 inch squares. This is 2 by 3.5. To make a flying geese, what you're doing is aligning your square on top, right sides together with your rectangle. Now, you want to make sure that all sides are flush and no sides are sticking out, kind of like this. You don't want to have any of your rectangle sticking out to the front. And when you're looking on the back, you don't want to see any of that square sticking out. So you really want the edges to line up perfectly. Now, one thing you can do, because you're going to be trimming off, because this is kind of like a corner square really, you're going to be trimming off this piece right here. So if you wanted to, you could put a little bit of glue and glue those together down here to get it to hold. I personally do not do that. I just go with it. So one thing I like to do is I like to sew from starting at this corner all the way down versus starting at this corner. The reasoning is I don't have a lot for my hand to go right here on this side. If it's this side, I have more for my hand to touch as it goes through the machine. So what you're gonna do, pick either side, whatever you prefer. Some are left-handed, some are right-handed, but that's how I do it. You're gonna wanna stitch all the way down from corner to corner on that line. Not to the side of the line. I never stitch to the side of the line. I know some do, and that's totally fine, but if you stitch in a stitch length in, so you're stitching your stitch length in on this side, the side that you're cutting off, you're actually cutting into your seam allowance by a stitch. And you might not recognize that right now because what you're trying to do, which is why everybody does this, is you're trying to make up for the fabric that you're losing when you fold. I do not do that because then it's messing with my seam allowance, which you're gonna see down here when you do make your flying geese. And I don't want that. If my piece is just a tiny bit small, I just give it a little pull when I am piecing my units together. So give that a try. I always stitch on my diagonal line. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and I'll get back and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here is my little piece now that I've sewn on the diagonal line. It's probably really hard to see because I'm using white thread, but right here is my diagonal line. I sewed exactly on my diagonal line that I had drawn. Now I did pretty good. There's not any sticking over, you know, looking on the back and the front. That's really good. So I sewed on the diagonal line. My next step is I'm going to trim this excess off. You can use scissors, but I like to trim all of my blocks with my rotary cutter and my ruler so that I am getting a true 1/4 inch seam here. Now, the next step is where a lot of people can get their flying geese looking a little wonky. So when you open this up, you've now sewn on the bias, and it can be so simple to kind of just push it open and then you'll see that it kind of gives a little twist, which is not good. You don't want that. So what I like to do, I'm going to show you again with my fingers and my thumbs. I am lifting that up just a little bit to get it out of my way with my thumbs down here. I'm holding it, and with my fingers, I'm just ever so slightly pushing it open. And what I'm doing is kind of dragging my finger up, not enough to really pull, but just dragging it up and out so that at the same time, you see that? See my pointer fingers? They're going at the same rate, same time. So that helps this stay square. Now I'm gonna give that a press. Okay, so I just pressed exactly, just press. I didn't push or pull anything. And here's what I have. This is my first step here. So as you can see, we now have one of our points, which is great. So I want to go ahead and check that. Now, I recommend this ruler. It's the Creative Grids 6.5 inch ruler. Love this ruler. I use it all the time. What I like to do is I know that this piece measured 2 by 3.5 or 3.5 by 2. I want to make sure that it still measures that, and it does. And you can kind of test yourself here to see how you did. If you put that diagonal 45-degree line on your seam, it should be perfect and you shouldn't have much. I just have ever so slightly some little threads there that I'll trim off later. Not now, later. So that looks good. If anything was wonky, I probably would redo it. Now I'm going to take my other square and place it on the corner, again making sure all edges line up. For this side, I usually start on this corner, but you have to be very careful when you are assembling these squares on the rectangle. It can be very easy for it to get shifted. Ever so slightly can make all the difference in the world. So you want to make sure, if you need to use glue and glue those down, you just want to make sure that they don't shift. Again, I like having more of the fabric on this side and very little on this side if I'm going to have to make these flying geese. So I'm going to go ahead again, stitch from corner to corner on my diagonal line, and I will show you what that looks like. So another reason why I don't start on this line isn't because of just the fabric that I don't have to hold now. It's because when you start sewing on a bulkier seam or any seam, it can kind of shift your fabric a little bit or stretch it down. So that's why I always start here and then I'll sew down, so then when it's going over the seam, it's flattening out that fabric, and so you don't have any kind of shift in your fabric square. So in addition to needing some to hold, I also do that to eliminate anything that could make this unit not work good. So I trimmed a 1/4 inch off. Again, now I'm going to press it open. And I'm just going to use my thumbs and my pointer fingers to press open just a couple times. My thumbs are holding down that bottom rectangle while my pointer fingers are pressing down the corner square up here. And I'm gonna go press and see how we did. Okay, another thing I do wanna say is I actually don't use starch at all. So I never use starch, again, because I like to keep things simple. I don't wanna have to starch a whole bunch of things just to make a piece. I just wanna jump in. But I do use steam now, so that is something different that I do use. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead, I press that one, so this is the one I just did, and now I'm gonna go ahead and trim this up. So what you don't do is lay your ruler on and just trim up. We need to measure some things. So what we need to do first is know what our half is. So if our rectangle is 3.5, we know, and you can pull out a calculator too if you need to, but we know that 1 3/4, 1.75, is our half. So what we wanna do is lay our ruler. Another tip I'm going to give you is when you're working with small pieces, have small rulers. I don't really go under a 6.5. A 6.5 is a great ruler for just about any small piece. I don't want to go too small because I might cut my fingers. So we need to go ahead and find first, where is our 1 3/4 mark? So what I'm going to do is line up the two, line up this line on the seam, and I'm going to put where they cross right here. Where those two cross, I'm gonna put my 1 3/4 spot on my ruler on that, okay? That's the first thing I do. The second thing is I align this seam. So with keeping my 1 3/4 inch, I try to align my 45-degree angle line on my ruler with that seam on this side. So let me do that really quick. Okay, while I'm doing that, I'm also checking to make sure that I'm still good down here on my 2. Okay, and I'm still good on my sides. A plus would be if you had a little bit extra, which I do right here. You can kind of see, I'll cut off that in a second, you'll be able to see. What you don't want to do is not have enough somewhere. I do see a little, probably 32 of an inch up here that's missing, but that's okay, it's just fine. To me, I'd rather that than more. I don't want more. But that is fine. So I'm just aligning it up, and what I'm gonna do is just trim the two sides. Top and right side. See my little slivers? I always clean up every unit I make after I make it, just to get rid of all of this right here. You do not want that in your quilt or in your block. Now what I'm doing, I'm a little less concerned now about my center, but you can still line that up. I'm now concerned, because I already lined that up before and trimmed, I'm now concerned with lining this up with 3.5 and this with my 2. So I'm gonna line that up, see where I'm at, looking pretty good, and I'm just gonna trim ever so slightly, barely anything came off. So that is how I make my flying geese units, the simple way, with no paper, no nothing, just the traditional simple way. And this is how it came out. It came out good. Now, I will tell you, if you are having troubles with your flying geese coming out good, you want to make sure that you're, first of all, you're sewing on the line. When you press, you're not stretching. You want to make sure that you're not stretching, because these can easily be stretched out. I want to show you really quick what that could look like when I do stretch it out, so that you can kind of see a difference. Hopefully this works. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this really quick, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do stretch it. Okay, so I went ahead and I sewed on my line. Now, if I don't use my thumbs to stabilize this bottom, and I'm going to get it wrong because I'm so used to doing it, but if I just like go like this, it starts to stretch. You see, like this starts to stretch, and it's not good. So if I don't use that and I just go to my iron and just start to push down and go, it's not gonna work out right. It's gonna stretch everything. So I'm gonna go press like that and see what we get. Okay, so here you can see, look at that. That is not good, not good. So if you're seeing any kind of curve there or any kind of curve on this side, it is your pressing. It has nothing to do with your sewing, it's your pressing. If the way to figure out if it's your sewing is your seam allowance. Was that a true 1/4 inch from the bottom, which is what we want to measure here? Yes, it is. Perfect. So you always want to also make sure when you are cutting this, you're measuring your 1/4 inch. But you see how different this looks here? It's the pressing. So you could sew all day long, your seam's perfect, but your pressing couldn't be the issue. So practice stabilizing that bottom piece. Man, that looks awful. Look at that. If you're getting this, let's look at it. If you're getting this, look at that. Oh my goodness. Wow. See how much? I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in. See how much this is wonky? Look at this. So it extends so much more than 3.5, and it barely has any fabric through here, has way more here. So if this is what you're getting, you need to concentrate on your pressing. Again, I use my fingers right here and then my pointer fingers to press out, and I'm trying not to stretch. I hope this helps you make your flying geese a little bit more accurately and avoid this so you don't waste fabric and you can have a more enjoyable flying geese unit. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed seeing how I make flying geese. So simple. Actually, when you do use small pieces, it is harder to get things to be more wonky because there's less fabric there. So it took me a little bit to get this wonky. One, because I'm so used to doing it the right way. So when you try to train yourself to do it the wrong way, it doesn't work the wrong way. So I really had to get this to look a little funny. But be sure to try these tips that I gave you in the video. Remember, sew on your diagonal line. That is why it's there. If you do not, you're taking away from your actual seam allowance when you do assemble your flying geese into your unit. If that's the way you've done it always, then keep doing it the way you've done it, as long as you're getting successful seams and blocks. If you're not, give this a try. So I hope you found this to be super informative. Again, I just like to make flying geese the old classic way. Now, it does create a little bit of waste, so if they're big enough, save these, put them in your scrap bin, or they're great for your starters and enders if you use those. Okay, so I can't wait to see how well your flying geese work out next time. I'll be back for another skill builder video soon. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.